Hey, so I'm here. I'm going to be doing the Midyear Freakout Tag. I'm going to do an abbreviated version of it, but first I want to tell you a little bit of what I read last week and what I'm currently reading. Last week I finished Book of the Little Axe by Lauren Francis Sharma, and this book takes place between 1796 and 1830. It is the story of a young lady. Her name is Rosa Rendon, and Rosa is a very peculiar woman, especially for her time. She is in the midst of a family struggle right now because her father has a farm. And of course, during history, we know women weren't allowed to own property. And so what ends up happening is she's trying to prove that she should be the rightful heir to her father's land. So there's all these forces, the English, the French, the Spanish, that are congregating in Trinidad. And her father, her uncle, they're all trying to figure out their place being Black people. And then the other part of this story takes place in the westward expansion of America. And there's all of these tensions between Native Americans, Black people, and enslaved people, runaways, and just trying to navigate who these people are. So I think that the book is really descriptive and it's really dense in the beginning. The second half of it was a lot more enjoyable. I love the passages where it's focused predominantly on Rosa and it's from her point of view. There's another character in here. His name is Creedon Rampley, and he is coming from the mainland America, I guess. And it's unclear a lot of times, like, what identity these characters are, like whether they're Native American or if they are mixed, if they're African descendant. And you start to understand it a bit more later in the story. But in the beginning, that was a bit confusing. And I really enjoyed, after I closed this book, the trajectory of Rosa's life, because I think it was so much about her trying to be anywhere where she could be the type of woman that she is, and seeing how the story plays out and seeing the characters that are her bridge, seeing the characters that are her anchor, really makes for such a stellar experience with this particular character. But yeah, just the beginning of it is really, really dense. So I encourage you. I really loved Lauren Francis Sharma's first book, Till the Well Runs Dry. And I was really excited to pick this one up. I just think that the beginning was really hard and I wanted to put it down a lot of times. But if you're going to take your time with this, it's going to be a really enjoyable read, I'm sure. But just remember, like, the first half of it is really dense, really descriptive, but I think it closes pretty well. I'm currently reading Deacon King Kong by James McBride, and this is about this local drunk in this housing project who is actually quite hilarious, and stay away from that corn liquor. But he is talking to his dead wife, who's been dead for about 2 years, and I've just started it, so I don't know how it's all going to play out. But it opens with him shooting this drug dealer, this ruthless drug dealer that's in their housing projects, and he's just mumbling about some ball game and him playing baseball. And it's really funny, and like I said, I just started it, but the storytelling is just really enjoyable. So this one, I'm savoring it, and I will come back and let you know how it's been going. So now for the mid-year freakout tag, and let's begin. So the best book I read this year has to be Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed. I love giving this book away. It's the reason I do not have a copy of it right now. But I think that this book does such an incredible job of making sense of how absurd people are when it comes to discussing race, when it comes to understanding racism and microaggressions. And these characters are so relatable. They're all so real, and just thinking about it makes me want to like laugh out loud because of how it's like the story's like water. Like, you're just, if you were talking to a friend and they were telling you a story about something. And I remember, because I used to nanny, and I had such a connection to the character Elmira, and how she had to deal with this white woman trying to explain herself and trying to make amends for her own transgressions and just her own feelings of guilt. And so I just thought the book was incredibly well done, and it's super funny. Like, I laughed on every page, and I will talk about this book until like the end of days because it's that good. And then the best sequel, I haven't read any sequels, but I'll say the next best thing, which is the follow-up for authors. Look at all these bugs coming around. I did read the second book from Britt Bennett, which is The Vanishing Half. Absolutely loved it, and it just solidified my standing for Britt Bennett as an author. Just a really incredible novel. I talked about it in my last video, so you can go check that out. The new release that I'm most anticipating for the second half of this year is Daylight Come by Diana McCulley. I just heard about this book on Eric Carl Anderson's channel, and it takes place in 2084, and it's about a mother-daughter duo, I believe, and they are trying to flee the devastation that's occurred from climate change. This one sounds really interesting, and I added it to my TBR like right away, and it'll be a part of my Read Caribbean Lit. I know that this month is Caribbean Heritage, but just to get more Caribbean Lit under my belt. Now, the biggest disappointment of 2020 goes to The Water Dancer, and I'm taking my time with this one. I am not enjoying it whatsoever, but I'm not going to let that muddy the love that I have for Ta-Nehisi Coates as a writer. But The Water Dancer,
definitely a no for me, dog.
The biggest surprise, I read Pachinko this year, and it's the biggest surprise because I have no idea why it took me so long to read it. Incredible. I just loved the journey that book took me on and the theme of women's suffering. This book was just so powerful and so like just a warm blanket. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, such an incredible reading experience. My favorite new author will have to go to Kylie Reid because Such a Fun Age knocked it out of the park. The experience extraordinary. Like, she's hilarious. She's profound. Kylie Reid, best new author 2020. I'm down with the cause. My newest fictional crush and favorite character would have to be Shay from Dear Edward. I read Dear Edward at the beginning of the year, and I really enjoyed this story. It was really nice. I think I read it in maybe a weekend or something like that. But Shay's character, the reason I love her is because she's just super like down to earth and is just about her business. And I love the connection that she has with the main character, Edward, and how their relationship grows and flourishes and is such an extraordinary part of his healing. The book that made me cry, I don't know that I like bawled, but I could feel like the emotion stirring, but it also goes to Dear Edward by Ann Napolitano. I think that's her name. Ann Napolitano. Did I say that? I think that's right. Yes, Ann Napolitano. So that book was really moving. It's a coming of age story, and it's about this young man. His name is Edward, and his family is taking a plane from Newark to Los Angeles because his mother's been transferred. And this bird is loud as hell. Anywho, and I think I'm going to be competing with the birds this time. But anywho, his family's moving from New York to Los Angeles, and this plane is a tragic plane ride because the plane crashes. Everyone dies except for Edward. And the story interweaves the plane ride with his coming of age after the plane crash. It sounds a lot more like devastating when you're talking about it, but when you're reading it, it's actually really just heartwarming, and it's moving, and it's just really such a sweet novel to read about this young man's life and his friendships and how he's just picking up the pieces of his life after losing his entire family, and then also getting to understand his family when they're not there anymore, just from memories and from his aunt and uncle's point of view, who he ends up staying with after the plane crash. But I enjoyed this story a lot, and I've talked to a few people about it, and not too many people that like really bawl their eyes out, but it was really it was a sweet, a touching story. Books that made me happy. I will have to give that to Such a Fun Age again. I literally like laughed the entire time I was reading this book. Like, So the book that I'm most hoping that I can read before the end of the year is The Girl with the Louding Voice by Abi Dare. And I've heard really great things about this book. It is about a 14-year-old Nigerian girl who is on this course to be educated and to live her own life, but that takes her to being sent off to marry some man, and then having to live with this wealthy family as their servant. And I think she's dealing with the loss of her mother. I've just heard really great things about this book, so I'm really hoping that I can get to it before December arrives. And so, yeah, that's my mid-year freakout tag, abbreviated. Let me know what you're reading in the comments below, and I will be back with another video. And so, yeah, I want to show you guys my plants. So let's do that right now. So I am getting my garden on. These are my beautiful tomato plants that are coming in super strong. I'm really surprised because I didn't plant that many tomatoes, but they all decided to sprout. And yeah, like look at that. And they smell so amazing. Like, oh. I wanted to fill the rest of the garden bed with spinach and zucchini, but we had a little accident with the zucchini because my mother threw away lots of my seeds. But it's all right because once these grow in, we'll get more seeds, and it's all organic, so I'm really excited about that. But this is the zucchini plant, and it's coming in very nicely. Here's the long spinach right now. There's more in the ground now that I see that this one's coming in, but isn't that beautiful? And it's like velvet. It's so nice. All right, so that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, remember to read or be read, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.